morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections, 103.1 Kids FM. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host. And before I start the show, I would like to thank everybody. Yep, I was in hospital for a lovely 7 days. Y'all know how much fun that could have been. But I want to thank everybody for calling me and texting me and your prayers. So yes, I'm out. I'm back. Am I listening to my doctor? You know, I'm trying to get back to where I was as fast as possible. But we're back and ready to go. And you know, this is my weather. It's a little warm right now, you know, so I need my 30 degrees back so I can feel warm and comfortable. You know, when I talk on the show, I'd rather talk to our youth than our adults, because we learn a lot from our youth. And if our youth are today, and remember what I'm saying, people make a mistake and say our youth are tomorrow. Well, you can't be our tomorrow because you're living today. So since you're our today, it's important that we hear from you, and it's important that we push you and help lead you in the direction that we know that you can go to, because not that we've made it, but we kind of can see it. So I always love talking to the kids. And you know, I'm gonna say something, then I'm gonna get in trouble for real, but you know, I always ask all the fraternities and the sororities to come on the show and talk about what they do with our youth. Well, Alpha Phi Alpha always seemed to want to come on the show. It was something that incorporated. Fraternity Incorporated. And they always come on the show because you know what? They're always doing something with our young men. They're promoting them, they're pushing them, making them excel, and I like it. So I wanted to first thank Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated for doing what you did. I know I just messed it up, but it'll be okay.
We'll give you a pass this time.
But this year for MLK, you all did something special. So I'm talking to Mr. Tony Rose.
Yes.
And you are the
Director of Education.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Now, you all this year did something for MLK?
Yes, we did. Held the Martin Luther King Jr. Oratorical program. Mm-hmm. We had 7 contestants, mm-hmm. And we have 2 of the 3 winners here.
So why did you all do it?
We did it get their views on topics. Of this past one was deal with the elections and about the walkout that the students had once President Donald Trump was elected president, and mm-hmm. how they felt Martin Luther King Jr. would have felt about the walkout. Mm-hmm. And so they gave their speech on it and everything, and they did pretty good. All of them gave great speeches. Too bad we was only able to have 3 winners. 3 winners.
Well, that's a good start, though.
That's a good start, and this is something we'll continue to do every year, MLK weekend.
Okay.
You know, to honor him. Of course, one of our fraternity brothers.
I knew that.
Okay. Okay.
That I did learn. Yes. So we have 2 of the young men here. So we have Jamal, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Javier. Good morning. How you doing?
Good. We're doing good.
So the oratorio you became a part of. Why'd you do it? Why? First of all, why'd you become a part of it?
Well.
Like, man, you would ask that question first.
Well, I like to write different things, but I really did this because I felt like this was a topic that everybody really needed to hear. I feel like Martin Luther King was a very important man, and not everybody know who Martin Luther King was. Mm-hmm. So the fact that I was able to express that, I felt like I could possibly make a difference.
What was the most important thing that you learned when you were researching him versus what you learned in school?
Well, one, in school, I only learned about the march.
Right.
I didn't know that he was a Alpha Phi Alpha. He was in a fraternity. But I did learn that he didn't just fight for African Americans. He also fought for everyone, just equal rights, period. And I feel like once we were all equal, we wouldn't have most of the problems that we had today. So, yeah.
Good. Okay, I like that. Sounds good. And how old are you?
17.
Cool. Y'all heard that, right? He's 17. Remember that word, 17, because we have men twice his age who couldn't even say what he said, which is great. I like that. Okay, and Jamal?
I did it. I'm gonna be honest. At first, I didn't want to do it, like everything else I do.
Right.
But if it wasn't for my parents for pushing me, and then I wouldn't be able to expand my vocabulary, first of all, because I'm not a really good speaker, but after this I feel more comfortable speaking in front of people, and yeah, I'm just glad I did it now because I did learn a lot of things.
So what did you learn from this that you learned that you did not know from like school and just listening to people talk?
Well, I didn't know that him and his father's first name was Michael. Michael King. I didn't know that. And I didn't know he was a part of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And I did not know that the march was 5 days and 54 miles. I was like, when I read that, I was like, so you guys walked all the way from Montgomery to Selma for 5 days to protest. I was like, that's something that's commitment right there. That's, you really want to change something there.
So I'm gonna ask both of you a question, but both answer. What happened then that was effective? Would it be effective today, you think? With the marches? Would that be effective today, or with, I'll say, your generation, would you all do something different?
I believe, well, everything happens for a reason. So I believe that what happened then, it's needed now. So I do think it's very effective at some point, at a certain standard. Most people can't recognize the importance of it, but I do. I believe that if we had to do it all over again, I believe more people would, like, their eyes will be a lot open to see what's the main reason why we did it.
Okay.
Well,
come on.
I think it would be effective too, because most of the black community, they don't like what's going on in the world today, so they like to protest and go on strike and things like that because they want their voices to be heard. And that's what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did. He stood up for what he believed in. So he marched, he protested, he did all those other things so he could show that this really matters.
But would it be effective today? Like, if there's an issue that came up with your generation, if an issue came up, then you all sat around and you talked about it, would a march be effective now, or would you do something different?
I think a march would be effective because at one point the government would just get tired of it and they're gonna be like, okay, fine, have it. But it will take some effort. You can't just walk out there willy-nilly and things like that and thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna get whatever I want because I'm marching.
That's true. That's good. You know, when Dr. Martin Luther King was marching, and when I was in, and people gonna figure out my age for real then, I was in middle school. And when I was in middle school, girls could not wear pants to school. We couldn't. Teachers couldn't wear pants either. They had to wear dresses. Well, and we didn't like that no more. We didn't want to wear, we wanted to wear pants too. You know, instead of, when you come home putting them on, we wanted to wear pants just like everybody else did. So I'm from Michigan, and in Michigan, the college, the Michigan State University picked one day, and they were going to go talk to the legislators on one day at 1 o'clock. So at 1 o'clock, they were going to talk to the legislators, but guess what we had to do at 1 o'clock? We had to walk out of school. They wanted every female in the state of Michigan to walk out at 1 o'clock and stay out while they were talking to the legislators. We had to stay out because it was going to be a combined effort. We did it, and we didn't expect teachers to walk out with us, but they did too. But we got what we wanted. We got the right to wear pants to school. So do you think today you all can organize around an issue? Okay, let's take this. You both in school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you have a history book, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Your history book, Black history in your history book is incorrect, right? So what could you all do about it today? Let's follow the guidelines of what you learned about Dr. Martin Luther King and today. So what could you two do to affect the change in that? Because we do know the history in your history book as far as Black history is wrong. So what could you all do today? Yes. He gonna give him a little help?
I'm gonna give him a little help here.
Okay.
One of the things I would do, first I go to the department head of the history department, and bring that up, and then maybe they can take it to the curriculum director, and then see where we can go from there. And then of course, it go to the principal, and then works his way up the channels and everything. So that's one start. That's one way you can do it. And also then a lot of things work sometimes. Petitions. Sign a petition, sign a petition, go with the school and bring it up and everything. You'd be surprised. Not only does African American wants to know about what's going on, you'd be surprised with all the other races. Like the two gentlemen said before, Martin Luther King was not just for African American, he helped a lot of other races, and everything. So that's where it starts at. The youth have to want to, to learn, because you hear a lot of quotes saying our story is real history, not his story. So we have to stick together and push it forward so we can get more of it in everything and fit it into curriculum instead of only knowing about it during February.
Right.
It need to be year round, or semester or so, whatever, not just 1 month or so many days out of a month.
But you two young men have a powerful tool that you use for your friends that you can also use to make a change, and it's your cell phone. It's your cell phone.
It's very powerful. It
is, and with your generation, you can utilize it as the same tool that we would have utilized marching and doing we do it. You all can use your cell phones as the same powerful tool. You just change what you're doing. Just change it around, and because you can do the same thing as an effective change. Okay, now next year there's some other young men that want to be a part of what you all were a part of. So what would you tell them?
I would just tell them to really do your research about the topic, and because it's interesting learning new things about it, and because anyone can come out here, but it's really about how much you're committed and your efforts you put into it.
Okay, what would you tell somebody, a young man who decided, thinking about doing this?
Well, what I would tell them is that make sure you have all the right research, because you just don't want to write something on willy-nilly and just delay information out there and it'd be wrong. So make sure you first off have right research. Second, enjoy your research, get into it. Like if you were this person, or if you were in this situation, if you was in this topic, what would you do? Think about things that you would do, things you wouldn't do, things that would affect other people, and things that could also affect yourself. So you should also do that, and then have fun with it, because most of the time when you're doing the research paper or anything, you're not going to enjoy it. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I hate it, but when I actually understood and actually put myself into character and doing these things, it actually became pretty fun.
Good. And I'm glad you said that you hated it. The reason why that is because people need to know that sometimes the most toughest thing you dislike doing is something you need to do. And also a lot of times you realize that it was easier than you were thinking. That procrastination, you go, oh, I hate it. And then when you get into it, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad at all, just that thought process. So in your age group, as far as being African American males, and your group, what can we do? Where did we lose you? Because somewhere or another we dropped the ball in preparing you. We're doing it now, but where do you think, as far as Martin Luther King and the disconnect between now and then, where did we drop the ball? Take a few minutes. We got it. And just be straight, because if we drop the ball somewhere, we need to know. We need to know, because you know what? I'll say the alphas can't help you unless they know where the ball was dropped at. Because what they did with the oratorio you did was great and it was fantastic. But you all might say, you know what? This was good. We need to continue, or we need to do this, we need to study more, we need to do that. This is when you let people know, you know what, this is what's missing in here, because if you don't tell us and we don't do it, we all lose. And see, it's your turn to teach us.
That is true. One thing I would say that, excuse me, one thing I would say where y'all have dropped the ball is, well, here's an example, because I actually had this talk with my mother a couple days ago. I was learning something in history, world history, and we was just talking about just African American people in general. But in schools, in public schools, like you said in the history book, I realized they only talked about the Caucasian male. They didn't get too deep into our African American history. And when I found out some of the things that she told me, I was like, wow, this society that we live in today is just like how it was back then, except for it's just advanced. It's just more versatile. It's more advanced. And I was just so surprised. I was shocked at the fact that some of the things that she taught me at a younger age, like I start to see it a lot more. It's not until she pointed it out and was like, look at this, look how all these businesses is going, look at who runs our country, this is how it was back then and how it can relate. I was just blown away. But at some point, I do feel like where y'all dropped the ball, I don't think that was technically y'all fault as well. I just think it's who runs it. You know what I'm saying?
Who's driving it?
Who's riding it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sometimes we just need, just to update our history from people who actually has been in that time period.
Correct.
In that time period, who can actually tell you what actually happened. But otherwise, I don't.
Okay. All right. And what do you think?
If I had to say something, I would say communication with the young people, because communication is very important, and because you get to learn more things, know things. Like some parents, they don't talk to their kids, so they don't know what's going on in their lives. So then they could be going through a whole bunch of stuff, but their parents don't know, or other people don't know. So, and then they don't know how to get help because they're not telling anyone. So I really think communication is a big part in this, and it's something that really needs to be up there.
That's good. And you're right. I agree. That is one of the keys. And what you're talking about people who are here. And I don't know if you know Tony Rose, but it's a man who lives in Temple. His name is Roscoe Harrison. Roscoe Harrison used to work for Jet magazine. But Roscoe Harrison covered Dr. Martin Luther King's death. But he lives here. So how many people have reached out to him? You would think, and I'm gonna talk to the alphas, to the alphas, because I'll ask them how many of them, first of all, knew, and how many of them have reached out to talk to him, because what you said would work, because we have a man right here who we could just reach out and go, hi, and he covered the death of one of their alphas.
Well, I know we have two senior brothers in the chapter, Brother Bert and Brother Lewis. So we do know about that. We do know. Yeah, they keep us informed. They're the senior brothers in the chapter, and they keep us on our toes.
Yeah,
they keep us on our toes. Make sure we know the history and everything. And like I speak to you two young men here, like when parents talk to you, I know you're like, And sometimes they go into it with us, be like, we know we're about to hear it now and everything. But it's knowledge, though. It's knowledge, though. It's from a totally different generation, like we pass it along down to you and everything. So, yes, we do have two senior brothers that pass a lot of information along to us and everything.
Because I let Dr. Hill know. I gave Dr. Hill Roscoe's phone number so that you all can connect, because he has Roscoe Harrison would have a piece of your history that he personally,
that he personally can actually speak on, not from reading in the books, but actually visualize being there and everything. So yes, and I think that's something we need to do. All fraternities, sororities, no matter which one you belong to. If you know somebody that's may know something about this, no matter what organization they belong to, reach out to them. Reach out to them. And I think me personally, sometimes that's what hurts the African American community. Sometimes all communities, put it like that. Not scared to reach out for help, don't want to reach out for help, worried about what somebody's going to say, what somebody's going to think. Like, had a mentor when I was in the military. He always said the stupidest question is one question that's not answered. you know, that's a stupid question. Questions that's not asked or asked, shall I say? So, you know, we got to reach out, provide information to everybody, you know, so we can educate our youth and our elderly.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, listen to these young men speak. All young men speak at the Oratorical. We were very impressed. They were speaking on. They spoke like, wow, you know, would I have thought of this? Would I have said this or so whatever? So the knowledge is there. You know, yes, the parents. You know, I know, speaking to a lot of you there, my mom and dad making me do it, but look at it now. I know they're proud of you, and you're probably glad they made you do it. A lot of things, you know, our parents make us do growing up we don't want to do, but then you look back on it, you're happy they did. You know, it's worth the effort. It's worth the effort, because remember, they want you to have better than what they had. That's any parent. As you get older, you'll see that too. That's
true. You know, and you were talking about history. We're talking about history. Sometimes we don't have to look in a book for some of our history. There's a man in Killeen. His name is also Freeman White. In 1957, Freeman White was stationed on Fort Hood. But guess what happened? He got arrested because as an African-American male, he was driving a Cadillac in 1957, and he was not allowed to drive that Cadillac to Killeen. So he got arrested in Killeen. His first sergeant had to come and drive the Cadillac to Fort Hood, to where he had to leave it there and couldn't drive it anywhere but on Fort Hood. You know, but so that's a piece of history, because when we would sit down sometime and we would talk, and when he said that, I happened to look at him. I'm thinking, you know how somebody's talking to you and you hear them but you're not listening yet. Well, I heard him, but then when he said arrested, and I'm like, wait a minute, wait. You know, I'm like, wait, back up again. When he said that, you know, and like he said, he didn't know it was against the law. He was coming from Maryland. And boom, you get to Killeen, and you know you're arrested. He thinking, you know, he had broke some laws, some laws or whatever. And here was no, he couldn't have a Cadillac. So dear first sergeant had to drive it on Fort Hood, to which Freeman White had to buy another car that was acceptable to drive off. But Freeman lives here. You see what I mean? He still lives here, you know, and he has pictures of he was in the military, his father was in the military, and his grandfather was in, so he has generations of pictures, and you look at those pictures and you wonder who wore that uniform. Could not have been an Army uniform, but it was. But sometimes when we look for our history, and you too, when you asked us, we should be able sometimes to direct you to people that are here. Rather than, I mean, it's fine to read a book. It is great. But sometimes, to me, it's interesting to sit and look at somebody and they tell you something. You go, wow. You know, you actually wonder, oh, my goodness, really? You know, and we have a lot of elderly people in our area who are walking history. And sometimes we just need to go and tap them. And just say, hey, well, you know, explain to us what you did. Let's talk about it. I know myself, and it's a man named Horace Grace. He has a television program, Focus. Actually, Roscoe is the host for the program. But we agreed this year for Black History Month, on my show and on his television show, we're not going to talk about history from books. We're going to bring actual people to talk about their history. So for the rest of this month, and he is too, we're going to have people, you know, that are living history, that did things back then that we need to know, to let everybody know that all of our history didn't die with them. There's still people that are going through things. So our challenge to everybody else is, when you talk about history for the rest of this month, talk about people that are here that have made history. Not everybody that's gone and made history. We need to remember we have people that are still living. So we need to, I'm not saying honor them, but we need to bring them up and talk about them. So my challenge to everybody who's listening is the same thing. And my challenge to you two young men here, is y'all both on social media and all that. So I need you all to try to at least one of your posts per day be about Black history.
And also I can chime in. I don't know if your grandparents, I'm sure they probably give you a lot of knowledge, especially depending on what part of the country they was raised in and everything like that. So grandparents can tell you a lot. Short story. When I went home with my father, he's from Franklin, Louisiana originally, and he took me home, and he told me this about like in I remember I was young, like in 74, 75. I'm not gonna tell you my age, but I was young then though. But only play with you. But and he said he remember growing up when African American was allowed on this side of town. He said that just stopped recently, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, wow, wow. So you'd be surprised, And my grandfather, he chimed in a lot, told me a lot of stuff too about that part of the country and everything, Louisiana and stuff. So grandparents still alive, whatever, talk to them. Or older people in your family, they give you a lot of insight.
Okay, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back.